I want to welcome everybody to this episode of the Next Project Conversations. If this is your first time viewing, just want to give you an update of what we're doing and how we're doing it. Over the past few months, we've been dealing with COVID and the coronavirus, and it has really adjusted how we do everything day to day. For us in the church, the reality is we've been doing Band-Aids, we made it to Easter. But now I want to start having a group of discussions and dialogues called the Next Project, which talks about what are the long-term impacts and how do we as communities of faith, as people that are living in the world, as people that are in Silicon Valley, how do we adjust to this new reality? How do we adjust to this new next? Today, I am so grateful. I have what I consider one of the most innovative pastors in Black Methodism today. Dr. Charley Haynes Jr. is the pastor of the BB Memorial Church in BB Memorial Cathedral in Oakland, California. Their ministry is cutting edge, but rooted in the history of Methodism. They do a great job of mixing both. They have a strong focus on social justice, and they're doing some really special and amazing things. Right now, I'd like to welcome my guest, Dr. Charley Haynes.
Pastor Coloma Smith, it's so good to be with you today. I'm so thankful for the time that we're sharing.
Well, welcome to the Next Project Conversations. What I want to start off is, I know that you provided some real significant leadership in the Bay Area, and people might not know this nationally, so I want to really highlight it. You were one of the first Black pastors to get ahead of it, but not only that, you provided like training to other pastors. You brought some national level speakers, some professional graphics level people together to really start investing in smaller congregations, which you didn't have to do, which I am grateful for. Can you talk a little bit about your response, what you're seeing, how things are going right now?
Yes, definitely. A few weeks ago, when this COVID-19 really arrested us as a church community, many people were struggling on how to pivot, how to move and to basically adjust their ministry style and level to reach the people that they so dearly love. And what prompted me, I saw a pastor in his efforts to try to meet his demand, took a whiteboard and literally wrote a conference call number on it and took a picture and put it up on Facebook. And when I saw that, as maybe a branding faux pas it may be, it was a prompter, if you will, or a clarion call for us to step up to the plate and to share what we know. This is not a season of competition. This is a season of collaboration. And what better way is to offer resources? So I partnered with JP Designs Art, partnered with a lady, Chalita Lockley, and I pulled them on the team along with yourself. And I said, hey, these are people who are in the trenches. These are people who make things happen from a social media perspective and standpoint. And they poured into our lives. In fact, JP Design Art gave away over $8,500 worth of graphics and fonts. And as of today, I think it was over 2,000 downloads that churches downloaded and used those materials to really enhance their experience. Otherwise, they would not have the opportunity.
So, we share a tradition. We're both Black Methodists in America. I'm Amy Zion, you're CME. So we share a lot of the same DNA. How was it in that DNA moving from something that is a highly liturgical situation on a Sunday morning to going all virtual? Can you describe your experience? Tell us what you saw. I just really want to hear about that.
Well, first and foremost, I want to give just a major shout out to my congregation, BB Memorial CME Cathedral. They stepped up in an amazing way. Prior to COVID-19, we were running about 38 to 42% in our online giving. In less than 1 week, we went from 38% to 78%.
Wow.
And now we're hovering around 90%. So many of them who were traditional, did not want to use an app to give, have adjusted. And I think that speaks to the leadership of saying, here's a company that can help us in our time of need to meet the demand and mission of the church. That was first and foremost. And then we talked to our team. We're in the middle, hoping that we'll be able to have extended funds, but we have a staff of ICs, which meaning independent contractors, part-time workers, full-time. We have about 27 individuals that we employ. And during this time, we recognize that some of them, because many of their jobs is about the day-to-day action, we have to either furlough or reposition their jobs. But we try to make sure we kept the core working. And how we did that was we do social distancing. We make sure it's less than 10 individuals that's on a camera. And then we try to provide the same level of worship experience on camera via Vimeo, YouTube, and Facebook Live so that people can engage. We've also used our prayer line, which is freeconferencecall.com, to allow our seniors to call in so that they can still at least hear the word if they cannot see us. So those are some of the things that we did to adjust.
You know, one of the things I love your statistics on the giving. What company did you partner with? Because I think people need to hear about that company a little bit more.
Absolutely. The company that we partner with and we've been in relationship with a little bit over 4 years is Givelify. That's Give, Lify. And it is an African-American owned company that does business par excellence. And when the surge happened from giving, their application never went down. We received our funds in 24 hours as they promised. There was no glitches in the system, and it made it for a streamlined process. So I recommend Givelify to anyone. It's an amazing company, and they're doing great things.
So this is the next the next project. So we want to really talk about the future. I know my experience currently is we patched the boat till Easter. We got to Easter.
Absolutely.
Which is a big deal. But now the reality is that this is a generational transforming moment between the depression in the economy and dealing with the pandemic. So everything after this is going to be so different.
Yes.
What are you seeing in the future? What are the patterns? What are the opportunities? I really want to hear where you're seeing us go.
Well, if we talk in the context of just using my own context and yours as well, as African Methodist individuals, we recognize the fact that we come from a great history. One of the greatest portions of our explosive growth as an African-American Methodist community was during the agrarian cultural days, where we had individuals who were circuit riders, that they would go from one place to the next place, taking the gospel, preaching the gospel. The church at that time was nimble, church was adaptive, and as a result, it grew. I see today very much so that this is a grand opportunity for revival for Methodists, that we can become the online circuit riders. We can now become nimble again, adaptive, and use our resources to reach much more people. One of the greatest testimonies that I have was Easter. Was the fact of the matter is that there were several hundreds of individuals who jumped online to watch our worship experience who would have not walked through our church.
Yep.
In fact, there was one lady gives a testimony, one of her best friends who was a Muslim, who watched the service and says, man, I'm going to actually give Christianity a chance.
Wow.
That happened as a result of the walls being removed. So if we see this as a revival moment, the church can grow, the kingdom can grow. People need God today like they've never needed him before. This is an opportunity in the midst of the anxiety, in the midst of the uncertainty, in the midst of the stress, that we can give a gospel, a good news to people, that there's still hope, that God is still real, and that God can help us get through this COVID-19 season.
Question for you. You said something that was so critical in the last one. You talked about the online circuit rider, which I'm going to encourage you to trademark.
Okay.
To trademark that, because that's too good to let go. I've had trouble preaching to empty rooms and cameras. Is there things that you could advise people as they're trying to make this adjustment? We know you had a great media team for a while, for a long time, so you have some experience. Can you let us know what is it like preaching in the empty room, and how do you connect with your audience better? What are some recommendations?
So I'm almost tempted not to say this, but I'm going to say this in gist, and hopefully all of those who are part of my 11 a.m. service will not get mad at me. But I will say that my 11:15 service prepared me for this moment. In that our earlier service is more charismatic, more responsive. My 11:15 are the thinkers. They're not moved by the emotive, but they're moved by the intellect, the action, and the word. So that moment prepared me to preach to the camera. As I preach to the camera, even though realistically it's exhaustive, you use more energy than you never used before. Exactly. But as I talk to the camera, what I have told myself and encouraged myself that there's somebody on the other side of that lens that need that same passion, need that same clarity, need that same conciseness as you deliver the word so that they can experience it. So even though I'm looking at a camera, I see that camera as an eye to hundreds, if not thousands of individuals who can experience the love of Christ. I would encourage people who are preaching to the camera, do not look down at your paper. Learn rehearse your message beforehand. There's nothing wrong with reading over it earlier so you can become familiarized. You have to engage the camera. This is not the day that you use your notes as your crutch. You're going to have to figure out a way to be more conversational. Next piece that I would say about preaching to a camera is that you have to change your catchphrases or your engagement phrases. For example, you can't say, "Do you hear me now?" They might hear you, but you will never know it. You might have to use something like I do. Tune in, engage me a little bit more, turn up the volume, using something that engages people at a level of where they are. People are in their beds, they're on their couches, they're in their living rooms, they're at their kitchen tables. You have to minister to people where they are. And I think that's the greatest place that we can start. And again, making sure that if you are at home, let me give you one more thing. If you are at home, make sure that it's a clean place. People should not get distracted by the dishes that you have on the table or the junk you might still have around your house. Put a green screen or a major background on the back. So then it's just you and the audience that you're trying to receive and to respond to.
So here goes a question for you. I want to pivot a little bit off of Sunday because one of the patterns I'm noticing is that because of the trauma congregations are going through, the church is required to move away from the tent pole of Sunday. You had, I know before we had COVID, you had the prayer call and the live stream going. Can you talk about what you're doing in the week to engage people and offer them community? Because I see a lot of great patterns of things that you're doing, and I really want you to share about it.
Yeah, I'll try to remember most of it. Right now, I feel like I'm in the trenches, so I'm in live time, so I'm just doing, not necessarily paying attention to the trends of it. But I'll just share a couple of examples. One thing that we try to do every week, or at least every other week, is give everyone a COVID-19 update. They're just simply saying, "Hey, I'm checking in on you. I'm loving you. This is not a time to scorn people for what they're not doing. It's a time to encourage them for what they are doing and how they are engaged." They need to know from you as a pastor or as a leader that you're praying for them. I just challenge my steward board that they need to hear more than me. They need to hear from you. They need to do as something that you just so eloquently said before we came on camera. Instead of arguing about issues, we need to learn how to care for people's needs. And I think that's a critical piece. Another piece that we're doing, and we're going to be doing in the next couple of weeks, is that we have ministries that have been a part of our lifestyle. I do not believe in preaching the gospel, and it does not trickle down to your everyday life. So we're going to have seminars online dealing with your credit. This is a great time to rebuild credit if your credit is not at the standard that it should be. I'm going to teach you how to do that. At one point in my life, a few years ago, my credit wasn't great. I'm grateful that it is now, but I learned some steps along the way. That's a ministry opportunity. We have Fit for Faith. We have Chef Nikki Shaw. That's a part of our community. Community partner Katrina Apinko. I'm going to bring them online to talk about what you should be eating while you're in the house.
Wow.
People are eating a lot more because you're sedentary. You have access. You're not on the move as much. So what should you be eating while you're there? The Bible tells us that Jesus come that we may have life and have it more abundantly. I believe that abundant life is not for the great by and by, but it's for us to experience even right now.
Wow. Can you tell me a little bit about your Bible studies and your Zoom Bible studies versus what you're doing on Sunday, and how these different technology formats, how are you seeing which one being effective? Facebook Live, Zoom, live stream, and what's your experience with them? Because I believe they're vehicles, and I think a lot of people are misusing a lot of vehicles right now.
Absolutely.
So I'd love to hear your take on it.
Absolutely. Yes. So I use all platforms. What I would say the greater concentration of faith-based community is on Facebook. They're not on Instagram, even though I love Instagram more than I do some other platforms. Facebook is where the most people are. So I encourage every person to get on Facebook Live. For example, we did a Good Friday service, and I'm gonna get to Zoom in a second. We did a Good Friday service where we set it up from a professional angle, but because sometimes equipment fails, I put a phone up to catch on my personal Facebook Live. And just to be transparent, even though it was a great experience, there was also a faux pas that existed. My camera caught my Adidas slides I had on. And for some of my members, all they could talk about was like, Pastor, them was some big old slides you had on. So when I thought about it, I got them, I threw them off the camera. But my point is that that could have been a distraction, but I used it to make it a ministry moment to show that we're all human and that we all make mistakes. But I encourage people to use multiple platforms. Zoom. It is important that you communicate to people via email, constant contact, whatever means that you have to communicate to them, to give a password, and also to set up someone in your church to be your administrator. As the pastor, you should not be trying to administrate the call and teach at the same time. You need to be free so that God can use you as the tool to speak to the people. Zoom is a great platform, but you need another person, in my opinion, to assist you. This past Wednesday, between Zoom and between Facebook Live, we had a little bit over 100 individuals that were on and off the line at a consistent basis on a Wednesday night. So we do the prayer call. Again, freeconferencing.com or freeconferencecall.com. Set up a prayer call line. All you need is 10 minutes. I take 10 minutes every Wednesday morning. I've been doing it for the last 6 or 7 years, probably longer. But those are the methods that I use. Zoom is very easy. I encourage you, if you can't spend the extra $100 to get the premium version so that you'll have enough time. The reason my Bible studies I try to keep them at 30 minutes because I realize some people who are on Zoom have the free app and it only lasts for 40 minutes. I'm trying to do an hour, then someone is going to miss the boat. And my goal is to minister where people are.
Well, where do you see Black Methodism in the next 5 years coming out of this?
If we have enough sense and if we have enough candor that our leadership, along with all of our pastors and laity, would take this opportunity God has given us and transform it into an evangelistic tool, I think our churches can thrive. But we have to be open to pivot. I often say it like this: we have to pivot if we want to see the promise.
Wow.
We have to pivot if we want to see the promise. Remember, the children of Israel were stuck in a rut. They were in the same cycle going around for 40 years. But one day, the Lord spoke to their hearts, and they pivot and found themselves on their way to the promised land. I think the same thing can happen to us. We can use this pandemic to pivot towards the promise. And if God blesses it, as I believe God will, it will be a new day and new church. Churches won't be the same. I believe that crowds will come back, but they won't be back at the same level.
Mm-hmm.
So now this technology will be our new evangelism. This technology will be our new Reformation. Remember, last point, remember that the Reformation started with the printing press.
Yep.
This is our new age Reformation. Social media platform. If we use it, God could be glorified, the people will be edified, and the ministry will grow.
Well, I know I'm grateful to hear a couple of things today. You gave us really practical tools.
Thank you.
You gave us real practical ministry. It was biblically based and it was experiential. My prayer is that your church sees the gifting that you are, and in 2021 they vote you as bishop for the CME Church.
22, yes, sir.
22. Well, when we meet again.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time today. This has been a true blessing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation, viewing us at the Next Project Conversation. What I want to do and what I want to really tell you is that over the next few weeks, we have an exciting variety of guests coming on. Next week, we have Dr. Floyd Tompkins, who is a theologian of Princeton training, but is working with Kaiser and the local church to figure out how we can do mental health during this time. So that's going to be next Wednesday. And next Thursday, we have my good friend, Dr. Adam Banks. He's going to talk about how rhetoric and how speech and talk work together. He runs the department of this for that department at Stanford. He's one of the most brilliant minds in Black America or in academia, period. In the following weeks, we're going to bring in some people from Singapore to speak to you, some people from Jerusalem to talk to you. We're bringing in people that are really looking at the future from a broad and international perspective. Today was only a sample of the level and quality of programming that we're going to bring to you. This is a project to really forward to next. Thank you so much for your time today. Bye.
All right.